Welcome, everybody. This is Our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, grouchy as ever. Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia. Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee. Cadeas Kalut in Newport Beach, California. And from Menifee, California, Pam Adger. This is Our Android Week. Hey, good to have you with us. I am your host, Dan McDermott, the least qualified of the panel to host the show, but I have a $10,000 studio, so here we are. Such is life. Cadeas, welcome, sir.
What's up?
Excellent. Did you write that down, or that was impromptu? Alan Furstenberg, welcome, sir.
Hi.
So, okay, so here's the deal. This is totally unrelated. It's semi-related. It's 10% related to Android. But there was all this news about Vic Indotra leaving Google Plus, or Google, period. And he was the head of Google Plus. And then there's all these stories about various things that are going to. The TechCrunch post kind of set the trend for all the coverage. And it said that some products like Hangouts and some other things are going to be moving from Google Plus to Android, which may make sense. But there's also some other stuff about employees moving around, etc. So I just wanted to we've been talking about this offline, and this is kind of the topic du jour of the week. And it's such a big topic that I thought I would just ask you guys for kind of like a latest update or whatever. And just what are your current thoughts on this? And what do you think about it? Are some things that they're describing it like they're going to parse out some some major components of Google Plus over to Android, and that's like a defeat for Google Plus. And what's really going on to the best of your knowledge, and just what are your thoughts on this? I just wanted to kind of hit this because most of our viewers of this show watch that.
Dan, I've heard this rumor that after the utter and abysmal failure of Google Maps, that it's getting transferred to Android too. In fact, I've heard that Google Search is also getting transferred to Android.
What else I heard? I heard that I don't care. So
I wish Google Reader would get transferred to Android.
It's just hyped up for no reason. I mean, there's no news to report, so everybody's creating stories out of nothing. I'm sick of the media doing that in every avenue, and I could care less.
But Larry Page could come out with a statement or do an interview with like Mossberg or some big dude, us.
So, and
He's
Larry
always
Page
welcome on our program, and nip it in the bud. So if you say nothing, and these stories flourish,
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, Dan.
It's like
and
Larry
I've heard some awfully stupid things on these shows.
I try to pull my weight.
The fact that Larry Page is saying nothing confirms it?
No, but
So,
it doesn't.
Mr. Page, do you confirm, deny, or say nothing about this? Well, thank you for your non-denial denial. Come on, that's bullshit.
I think if Larry Page had a firm, the logic is this. These stories are out there. They are clearly cognizant of the stories being out there. They are not. They put out one statement initially. These stories are continuing to flourish and grow, and they're not really forcefully saying this is BS, which leads people to think that there's some credence.
They said it was BS in their statement.
I think this is.
We still maintain that it's BS. On Monday morning, Google
BS.
confirmed that
It's BS
TechCrunch is full of
2.0.
BS. What the hell do you want them to say? They make one statement, the statement sticks.
If I were in charge, well, it doesn't stick because it's not sticking because everyone's running these stupid stories. If I were in
everyone's
charge,
going to keep running the stupid stories no matter how much Google denies it.
no
Google
point in
continues to deny the utter rumors. Come on.
I think, as a newspaper guy, I know something about publicity because I'm hit up by people constantly, get our story in, or here's my side or whatever. That I would say, if I were in charge of Google, which is a bit of a stretch because I'm not actually, worth $20 billion, like Alan is, and Cadeas will be in about 5 years, but I would do a forceful thing, like an event with the new Google Plus guy, whose name Bez, and show up at a Starbucks or whatever and do an impromptu interview with somebody that's not really impromptu and set up, Mossberg happens to be the same Starbucks, by coincidence, or whatever it takes, and you just say like, we are so excited about Google Plus, we are so, I can't believe some of these crazy stories, and that would go a long way toward answering this, and it's
So
that's
the chief
my view.
engineer behind Google Plus denying it categorically wasn't enough.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you broke up.
So the chief engineer of Google Plus denying everything categorically wasn't enough.
Obviously not. It was just on Twit Sunday.
And here's the thing, Dan. Okay, Bez could go out and make these statements, and it wouldn't be enough. Page
Bez
could
is
go
not
out
the
and make
decision
these
maker.
statements, and it
Larry's
wouldn't
the
be enough.
decision maker.
It would nothing Google says at this point is going to be enough. Nothing. Not one damn thing that Google said would shut people up.
In my opinion, a canned statement that was not altered in any way, sent out to multiple media outlets from a PR rep, does not carry the weight of Larry Page giving Bez a freaking hug in a Starbucks or at a press conference or whatever and saying, this is absolute nonsense. That would carry weight and would be absolutely quoted.
No.
Now, clearly,
Dan,
action.
nothing's gonna
You're
carry
getting what
weight.
you're getting at is actions speak louder than words. That they can say what they want to say, but people aren't going to believe it until they see that it's I guess. I just think that Larry should stand up and say, listen,
No, actually, Dan, what I'm getting at is that fiction speaks louder than fact. TechCrunch's story and all of the stories since have built on total fiction because it sounds cooler. No matter what Google says, no matter how true it is, it's not going to be as cool as the fiction. So it's not going to carry any weight whatsoever.
Okay.
That's all there is to it.
And another rumor that was out there was that Charles Ibarra was actually going to be the next head of Google Plus, and apparently that's not the case. I know that was floating around there. I just wanted to just quash that. At least not yet. Who knows what might happen. Okay, so we all agree that we really don't know what the hell's going on, and these stories are going to fester, and
Yeah, nobody else knows what the hell's going on either. But that, is going to keep them chattering. It's going to keep us chattering.
I know that these guys from Google who are saying things like, no, this is BS. I strongly believe we have relationships with them for 3 years. They absolutely would not lie. So either they're telling the truth or they're being misled. And I don't see those. I think it's B or A. I think it's, I think this is overblown.
Here's the thing. Any person that applies half a brain cell looking at the rumors that are flying around, all of the rumors don't pass the sniff test. That's really what it boils down to. The rumors don't pass the sniff test. It's got nothing to do with who we know on the inside. It's got nothing to do with what they're saying. The rumors don't pass the sniff test.
There's no news to report. That's the problem. So people are making up stuff. That's all that it is. That's all that it is. They're looking for the next big story, and so people are creating the next big story because the next big story hasn't quite gotten here yet.
And as
They're creating
a
out of
news, this will come to fruition. I mean, for one thing, Vic Condotra left. There was no explanation as to why. It was sudden. So there's a bunch of questions people are going to ask, and they're not providing any information for whatever reason. We have no idea. I don't know if he was hired to be the next CEO of whatever, or if he was fired, or if he just decided, I'm out of here. I'm angry and I'm not gonna take it anymore. You know what I mean? I'm mad as hell, or whatever it was. I have no idea. So, and nobody else has any idea except the insiders. So naturally, these things are gonna fester. And until there are answers, these will continue to go. Go ahead.
And Alan, looks like Charles Ibarra is saying that basically you won't be the head of Google, and he's sorry to crush your dreams.
Oh, I thought he was saying he won't be. That's what my joke was, but I guess it wasn't funny now because he didn't say that.
No, you forget that, 8 minutes ago when you started talking about this story, you said if I were the head of Google,
I'm just saying, I think they're not handling this well from a PR perspective, but maybe there's no way to handle it because they can't, for
There's
whatever
no.
reason.
How do you handle people making up BS? You can't handle it with the truth because nobody cares about the truth.
I think that they could give some more information than they have. I think people who have been.
Like what?
Why Vic left? A.
Why is that relevant though? That's his business. Maybe he didn't feel like working there anymore. Maybe he found something better. Maybe he wanted to take a break. Maybe he just don't want to do anything. That's none of nobody's business why he left. And I don't know why we as American people have to know every ounce of every detail. That's ridiculous.
If
That's
Barack Obama resigned tomorrow and said, "Thank y'all, I'm out," do you think you'd have a right to know why?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I need to worry about who's replacing him and what we're doing going forward. I don't, as a country, I don't need to worry about why he resigned. The bottom line is he's gone.
Do you think that the cable networks and the newspapers would wildly speculate about why?
So Dan.
Hang on. Do you think that the
Why are we still
newspapers
talking
and
about
cable
this?
stations would wildly speculate about why he resigned?
Because they don't have anything else to report. So quite naturally,
my
they
question
would.
is, do you think that they would do that?
Of course they would. Of
Okay.
course.
Do you think that if someone at the White House knew why he resigned and he came forward with that information, that might quell some of that wild rumor
No,
and speculation?
Dan. Hang on a second. Nobody seems to really be talking about why, or speculating on why Vic is leaving.
Well, it's relevant.
Nobody's speculating on whether he was fired. If they were speculating on that, they would have made that a major part of the story, but they haven't.
I think that's a lot of the fuel of it. I think if he, found Jesus or got a big gig somewhere else or whatever, right? Something that he left, then it would just be, okay, he's gone. There's a new guy. But there's this wild gap of information. So people are wondering, like, was he fired or did he get, was there a big fight?
He was gone and then there was the new guy.
But listen to me. All of these stories about Google Plus's ending, this is the devastation of it's a failure. All are premised on the fact, or all are based on the premise that he left either in a spat or was fired or something negative like that, when he might have just gone for a better job, and then these stories wouldn't be out there, I don't think.
They've been saying that since day one about Google Plus, so this is nothing different. They've been saying that since day one. They haven't said anything this time around that they hadn't said at the beginning.
Here's the thing, Dan. Okay, let's paint as I see it, there are more or less three possible scenarios. Okay, Vic left because he's moving on to better things, whether that's another company or into retirement or whatever.
The happy answer.
Okay. He is leaving because the Google higher executives no longer have confidence in him to execute Google Plus, or he is leaving because the Google Plus project is canceled. Can we say those are about the three possible scenarios?
You could argue that the second one has an A or a B, whether he was canned or resigned. But basically, Google's going to end, or there was a disagreement and they lost faith in him, or he's moving on to greener pastures. Agreed.
Right. Okay. So, given all three of those possible scenarios, I would still spin Google Plus as going down the tubes. Were some malicious news organization that was desperate for clicks, or that felt like talking about this for 13 freaking minutes and counting so far.
If the Google Plus is closing thing or being downgraded.
So no matter why he left, I could spin it negatively. So if he was leaving on good terms, I would spin it as Google Plus is going to go down the tubes because it no longer has a leader. The leader bailed out. Okay, if I was going to spin it in the sense of no confidence, in Vic, I would be spinning it as Google Plus is going to go down the tubes because leadership has no confidence in the project. And if I was viewing it as the project being canned, I would just say the project was canned. There is no way to spin this in a good fashion.
If this were the first scenario, basically a Marissa Meyer story, right? Then it would have been announced. There would have been like everyone. It wouldn't have been like this. But the fact that it happened so suddenly, he was just in Texas, and you know, all of a sudden, like, I quit.
Do we know why he was in Texas?
Wasn't he promoting Google Plus, or I don't know what the hell he was doing. I know he was.
No,
He met with
nobody knows
Peter.
why he was in Texas.
He met with. He said, "I'll be in Texas," and Peter met with him.
He said he'll be in Texas. He met with people during that time to talk, to talk up Google Plus.
So if he was involved in a weeks long negotiation to take over some company or whatever, the whole thing is it seems like, holy smokes, it was sudden. None of the Googlers knew about it. There wasn't a long drawn out, he's leaving, celebrating his tenure and a coronation of the new person, like with Marissa Mayer. It was all of a sudden like, I quit. I'm not telling you where I'm going. So naturally, that's going to feed into this kind of thing. And it just makes people think maybe there's some truth to some of these elements of this thing. It sounds like somebody was pissed. Either Larry was no longer, or one of the other head guys said, I'm going to quit. Like maybe the heads of YouTube and these other guys got together and said, we're all going to quit if we have to keep doing the integration. I mean, all these crazy conspiracy theories can go through your head, right? And we like Vic. I mean, let me put that out there. But Alan and I, with others, would interview Vic each year. And we were set to, I was planning on doing it again. And I'm a fan. I'm just analyzing this as a journalist. I'm saying that I think, I don't know, maybe they're handling as best they can because maybe the truth is negative and they don't want to say the truth, so they're just shutting up. So, unlike me, apparently. Okay, so I guess we're done with this because I think Alan was done with this about 13 minutes ago. Alan's going to abruptly quit and not announce what show he's going to. All right. I hear nothing. So you've both muted yourselves. So I guess you're not going to talk anymore about this. You're making a statement.
I was done with this precisely 16 minutes and 15 seconds ago.
Unlike Google, or like Google, you've both muted yourselves and are just allowing me to flail wildly and like a monkey throwing feces at the cage. Okay, so HP is making a 14-inch Android laptop. This is very interesting to me, and I was discussing it with Craig, who's a huge Android fan, as we know, Craig Shipp from Google Plus Week, which airs Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. There are things you can do on a full computer, like a desktop or laptop. There are things you can do on a Chromebook, Chromebox. There are things you can do on your mobile device, iOS or Android, that you can't do on the other things. And this is interesting. This is kind of like BlackBerry on steroids, where you have a laptop format like a Chromebook and a full keyboard, but basically like a Android landscape screen. I think this is interesting. I'm not sure I'd buy it. I don't know. I definitely would want to play with it and see what it's like. What do you guys think about this?
I got, what is going on? I got Charlie this something similar to this before. It was called the Moto. It came with the Motorola Atrix, and it was the they had a weird name like Dock Lap or something, Lap Dock or something like that. But basically, you would take your phone, dock it in, and then you'd have a full-blown laptop. He used it just as much as he uses a Chromebook, and I mean, I don't see it. I don't see why we need this product. We've been down this road before. Now, this one isn't docking. It's coming quite standard, looks like, so you don't have to do any docking or anything. But I can't see Android as this kind of platform because we already have the Chromebook. What do you think, Alan? You think this?
I think this is as brilliant, as absolutely brilliant as the Microsoft Surface.
Exactly. It does line up with the Surface, actually.
Do we have a price point?
Not that I've seen.
So if it's cheap, like, a couple $100, there might be.
If it's a couple $100, what's the advantage of it over a Chromebook?
I'll be honest and display my ignorance here. Can a Chromebook emulate Android? I mean, can I run anything I can run on my phone or my Nexus 7 on my Chromebook?
No, but why would I want to?
I mean, because I've always said that, like, the phone and the tablet apps are always, I don't want to say dumbed down, but scaled down, different, not as full function. Like, like the Adobe Creative Suite, you cannot run on my Nexus 7, right? There are specialized
Okay, so
apps
you're
and
making
stuff.
my point for me. Thank you, Dan. Good to see that you agree with me.
You're my biggest fan. Of course I would. So, you both think this is a loser.
Charlie, just told Charlie about it. He thinks it's interesting. I guess he really liked the platform. What'd you think? Tell him what you.
Yeah, I used to have the Atrix, right? The
Yeah.
Motorola Atrix. It worked pretty well, except the docking had a couple of bugs that it wasn't really software that could fix it. It was the actual dock that was kind of messed up, really messed up. Sometimes it wouldn't even load it. So the whole laptop itself, without having to dock it, seems like a really good idea. I'd probably get it if you'd buy it for me.
Get out here.
Make a nice Christmas gift. Okay, so I would definitely. I mean, all three of us would play with this if we saw it at Walmart or Best Buy or whatever.
Of course.
I don't
And
know
I'm
if I'd
sure
buy
I
it.
could find a use for it. If I had it, I could find a use for it. I would probably use it more than a Surface, actually. But yeah.
A lot of it, I think, will like a lot of these gadgets, like the Chromecast, a lot of it's going to depend on the price point where it lands. But okay, so there we go. Because there are some things like Flipboard, and there's some other apps like this secret app I keep hearing about, which we're going to talk about. That you can't run that on Android, but apparently you're going to be able to. We'll talk about that in a minute. But there are certain things you can do on certain devices you can't do on the other. So if you can add a full keyboard and a big screen and the form factor of a laptop and have full function Android,
Then you'll get a crappy phone app on a big screen with a keyboard.
I'm glad we've conquered fragmentation. It's yet another form factor that you have to deal with. I guess it's not unlike a large tablet in landscape format as far as you developer guys. So there. Okay, so we're brought to you by the HP Android laptop tonight. Okay, so next up is AT&T is extending 4G LTE to flights in 2015. GoGo, a service that does that, their stocks dropped 24%. I don't know if they analyzed this, but I imagine In-Flight Magazine stocks would not be doing well. What do you guys think? I know that Cadeas, you travel a lot. How big a deal is in-flight Wi-Fi? And what do you just think about this in general? Because I know you travel to Japan, which is a hell of a long flight, so you probably start getting restless there if it's not a night flight and you're sleeping.
If it runs, okay, so I understand that they're going to take this and basically they put basically LTE services, and I guess they pointed upwards that lets it reach I can't talk right now, reach planes. And so yeah, this would be a good deal, especially for AT&T, because people are sitting for a long time if they're going from New York to San Francisco or whatever the case. That's about a 6-hour flight. So people are sitting a long time, and so this is good for them because people will start streaming data and all that stuff, which then runs these data plans up. So it's a good thing for them. I think it's good for everybody to be connected as much as possible and get rid of this little fake Wi-Fi on the plane that doesn't really stream anything. You can't even watch a 30-second clip. So I think this is a good thing. I just hope everybody held on to their unlimited data plans with AT&T, because this is going to be bad for them if not. So what do you think, Alan?
Yeah, I'm cautiously pessimistic on this one. I just, I have little faith that AT&T will, do this without screwing it up. I think it's a lot more complex than just pointing for starters, they need to actually reconfigure all of their LTE in order to do this, and I can't see them doing that quickly.
My understanding of this was that they had to just point it upwards and obviously have it broadcast a lot stronger and not interfere with other stuff. I thought it was more frequency related than anything, I thought.
Well, my understanding is they need to use the new frequency, some frequencies they have allocated, but that means repointing a bunch of radios and retuning a bunch of radios, and they can't just turn that on. That's a deployment, and that's work. Personally, I think the Wi-Fi on a plane is an is a reasonably good solution. GoGo's doing that. I'm curious to see what JetBlue's solution is, because I like the concept that JetBlue is applying to it. I think
See, I
that's
haven't
actually
been on
pretty cool.
JetBlue, so I'm not quite sure how theirs work. But I know everybody else that I'm on, it sucks. It's not worth doing. I can't even get a Hangout message out. It takes 5 minutes for that. So
Really, I've
yeah.
had fairly good luck using GoGo or whoever it is that I've got free with my laptop. Um, but JetBlue's solution is that you get some very basic wireless solutions for free. And if you want to purchase the premium version, you get streaming video and some other, nice features to it. But the basic solution is free, which is, it's decent.
Not to be a
Um,
smart ass, but would we be able to locate a Malaysian airliner if everyone was tweeting from the plane?
Well, one of the things that AT&T is claiming with this is that by doing this, they're also going to increase their. It's not just for the passengers; it's also for the crew, which is interesting. And if so, but I'm not sure you'd be able to because it requires a ground transmitter that you're flying over, and I don't think they'd be able to put them in the middle of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Just a speculation.
Perhaps a valid point. Okay. All right, so might be a good time to buy GoGo stock, or maybe not. All right, so next up is this other story. I saw it. I almost added it, but I didn't have time to read it, so I was reluctant to add it. But apparently there's some controversy about the OnePlus One. So whichever of you added this, can you enlighten me?
I don't know. I was pretty impressed that you omitted the one story that everyone's actually been talking about this week on Android.
A rare
But,
Alan
like the
dig
only thing
against
that's
Dan.
actually a story, I had to add it.
Apologies.
So the for those of you who aren't familiar with the OnePlus One, which apparently Dan isn't, this is the phone that's coming out from Oppo, which will feature CyanogenMod installed on it as the base install, and still featuring access to the Play Store. The exciting news is that this is going to be their flagship phone, and they're essentially releasing it for $50 less than the Nexus 5, which is the Nexus flagship phone, off contract, unlocked, with some really impressive set of features if you compare it to the Nexus 5. The processor is slightly better. There's more memory. The camera looks like it's going to be a very, very good camera. There really isn't anything about it that doesn't, at least give the Nexus 5 a bit of a run for its money, and it's cheaper. So I don't know, Kadeus, if you looked closely at the OnePlus One, you seem dubious.
I looked at it. I was actually up when they were and watching the stream when they were broadcasting. My thing is, I've never been a big fan of. I can never say it's CyanogenMod or whatever. I've never been a big fan of rooting and all that stuff, so I never really got with that whole CyanogenMod thing. My whole reason for being a Nexus fan is because I get the updates quick and it's pretty pure in that sense. So other than that, I'm really interested. It sounds like the only thing that would kind of draw me to this phone would be the camera, because it would be a actual really good camera. But I mean, I don't really use my Android for camera anymore, so I don't know. I have to see more on it before I decide.
What do you use
something
instead? Glass?
For what?
Camera?
No, I got my DSLR Samsung.
Okay, the
Samsung
NX.
Galaxy NX. Or get the Galaxy NX, yeah.
And you're a big fan of that.
Yeah, I don't know. I am curious about this. I want to see it in action. I kind of wish, they're saying it's going to be out within a few months, and I kind of hope that was more general release in a few months, because I certainly, wouldn't mind replacing my phone. But since this is CyanogenMod without the rooting, without having to do all of the messy stuff with it, and you get relatively quick updates, because CyanogenMod's pretty good about, updating things quickly. So, from that sense, it's got some of the best of a Nexus. And the rest we'll see about. I'm curious. I'm not curious enough to write an essay about how I'm going to destroy my old phone if I get it, but I'm curious.
One of the criticisms that I think is legitimate from Craig Shipp about Android in general is that there is a dearth of high-end hardware Android phones, and that a lot of Android's claim to fame is that it's free for carriers or OEMs to use, and they're often at lower price points. And we saw the HTC One, which was a very good quality physical phone, beautiful phone, and some others. And why don't we see more high-end, solidly, really awesome physical builds? I mean, I'm a fan of the software, but there's no denying that Apple's building really good quality phones, and there aren't that many Android
Quite
phones
simply,
in
Dan?
the same ballpark.
Quite simply, Dan, because nobody will pay for it. The reason why Apple can command the high price that it can is because of the Apple, not because of the high quality build. If Apple made a poor quality build, that would lower Apple's name and brand reputation to their detriment. So they have to keep the high quality, but people aren't buying an iPhone because of the high quality. They're buying it because of the name.
Okay. Okay, so next is this Secret app. It's a Secret. Secret is expanding its anonymous...
Incredible. We talk about Vic Gundotra for 3 times as long as we talk about the actual major news item.
I
On
apologize.
Android.
We can continue.
No, go ahead. Let's talk about Secret. I want to get this show over with.
All right, so Secret is expanding its anonymous messaging to Android and to new global markets. Have any of you guys played with this app? I don't know if you have. I don't think you have an iPhone. I know Cadeas. I think
I wasn't interested in it. I feel like it's just not something I would do. That's the best way I can say it. The nice way.
it's kind of like an anonymous Quora. I see, like, in fact, a lot of the stuff about Vic, I've seen people posting, like, current or ex-Googlers anonymously posting about what's going on or speculating. You know, you don't know who they are because
And you
by
know
nature,
they're current or ex-Googlers. How?
you don't. That's what I was saying. You don't. There's no vetting, obviously, by nature of an anonymous app. But people love gossip. These sites, you know, these celebrity sites about gossip in these columns and stuff. Is this going to be a thing?
I don't know.
Okay. So that was a winner. All right, so Secret's coming to Android soon. So there's that. Okay, the developer pulls the Make Your Own Chromecast app, Cheapcast, from the Play Store, and he may not get to bring it back. Apparently, this is something that would allow you to take any Android device and basically make it a Chromecast clone, but now Google is cracking down on that. So what's the deal, and why are they doing that, and is this a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I guess the deal is exactly what you said, is they seem to be cracking down on devices that are implementing the receiving end of the Chromecast protocol, of the cast protocol. I'm a little surprised that they're taking this move, but not overly surprised. Honestly, I think it would be more to their benefit if they did support it more, but, you know, I think it's early in the days of the protocol, so they want as much control over it as they can right now, as they think they can get away with. I'm not overly concerned by this. There aren't a great many applications for another receiver. There's much more interest in creating new transmitters. So, I don't know.
What's the
I'm not
rationale
overly
here,
concerned.
Alan? Because they're obviously not making a ton of money. I mean, they're selling a lot of Chromecasts, but they're only $35, so they can't be in the Google sphere, financially, that's not a lot of money, and there's probably not a big profit margin in this device. Maybe there is. I don't know if it costs them $2 to make it or $33. I have no idea.
No, but the Google approach on this one is that if they establish this protocol as the protocol that everyone is coding to, then they get to preempt Apple and Amazon, who are each trying to drive home their own protocols in their own niche, in their own niches. That's what this is all about.
And I also think it drives the Play Store a little more too. So as far as purchasing movies and TV shows, I know I've picked up on using that a lot more frequently than I used to. So
yeah, maybe a little more, but it's pretty marginal, I think. The Play Store is never going to catch on unless they actually do something decent with it. And right now, it's a big pile of so what.
They should follow Netflix's model, and HBO. These guys were coming up with original content. Amazon did the deal for the Stephen King Under the Dome, where they would be the exclusive place to watch the
they
episodes.
Have that. They have a massive, unique channel. It's called YouTube.
And I did watch Under the Dome via Google Play. Me and Charlie just watched that whole season, so it's definitely there as well.
Now, but initially it was only on Amazon and Amazon Prime Instant Video. I just don't.
And Amazon Prime Instant Video is never going to support the Chromecast.
I just think they should get an original series or something, some runaway hit like a House of Cards, and put it on Play only.
That's YouTube. It's all one service. So yeah, if you make a video and use the premium subscription, that shows up on Google Play. So you can search for it there or search for it on YouTube. They're one and the same.
Do you think that's a good move?
What, Dan?
Do you think that's a good move? Do you think it makes sense? Because everyone knows about YouTube. Not everybody knows about Google Play, and not everyone uses Google Play. I mean, the usage of YouTube versus Google Play is probably 1,000 to 1. And I'm just saying that if they wanted,
they've already done that. That's what we're saying. It's already done.
okay.
Why do you think they're spending a large chunk of money on building studios for YouTube?
Then why do they? Why isn't it just called YouTube? I mean, why is it a separate thing?
Because Google's a pack of flaming idiots! That's why!
But it's not
I heard a
separate.
rumor that the head of YouTube has just been fired and that YouTube is going to get rolled under Android.
I'm just saying that, like, I have, I think it's Rhapsody to Go, which I use for music, which I used to have Napster to Go when it was the legal service, right? They just bought it was a new company. It was not the illegal service, the pirate service. I remember when they did this big push for Play, I think it was at I.O., right? And I know Nate Swanner was a big fan and loved the Google Play Music. He thought the discovery was great and loved it. And I never really got into it. And if there was some really cool series that I could only get by downloading that freaking app, and or it's part of the Google suite, so it's there. But if there was some series like House of Cards or Under the Dome or something compelling that everyone was talking about that was really good, Game of Thrones, and it was only available by Google Play Movies or subscribe, through that, not just YouTube, then I think that would make inroads to getting people to use it. I mean, I know that House of Cards has caused a lot of people to subscribe to Netflix in the same way that when Howard Stern went over from what he calls terrestrial radio to Sirius, that got subscribers, millions. And I don't know. I think they should do that. But if they're just going to tie it in and let people get the same content via YouTube, which is an established player, which they're not trying to, I mean, they don't have a necessity to grow. I don't know. So that's my 2 cents. Anything else on this? All right, next is speaking of YouTube, YouTube Mix has been enabled on Android. Any you guys use this?
No, not really. I didn't really. I'm not a YouTube mix person, so
It's basically you can, if you're a big Psy fan, and you can, it'll automatically play all of his hits. Um, I know that Alan's a big Psy fan, so he's probably got that pre-programmed. But check it out. That's YouTube Mix, which you guys obviously don't care about. Next, Google Bing brings its hotel and restaurant search to Android. I've been seeing these Travagos things, these ads on TV, so I checked them out because I was curious, and I did a test with a hotel in Manassas, Virginia, where I used to live, and I looked, and Travago is one of these aggregator. So you have like the sites like Travelocity and these deal sites, and they're aggregating things, and then you have these aggregators of the aggregators, right? And then so I actually looked and I compared all the best price for the hotel room in Manassas, just as an example. And then I actually went to the website for the hotel and discovered that the price on the hotel's own website was like $10 less than the best price on Trivago. So if you, I mean, the whole point of these sites is they'll find you the best deal, but they don't even look. And that was just, I mean, that was obviously a small sample. It was one thing. You travel a lot, Kadesh. What do you think about this whole concept in general, and what do you think about what this actual story is?
Well, my first question is, did you actually, when you did what you did, were you actually trying to stay in the hotel, and did you end up purchasing the other one?
I did not. No, I was doing a test, so I picked a specific date. I think I picked 3 specific dates just to do it like a weekend, a weekday, to get a good test. And it was only one hotel, so this is not like Consumer Reports spending 6 months on an investigation.
Right.
But
Right.
It was this hotel in Manassas. It's now the Best Western. It's where Addie's is, the famous restaurant, bar, karaoke place, live bands. And I was just, as an example, I just thought I'd try that one. And I went to Trivago, and it showed me stuff from all the, all the different sites. And
Well, the reason
all
why
of
I
them
asked-
were higher than if I just went to bestwestern.com/whatever. And
The reason why I asked that is because when me and Charlie did our cross country drive, it was right when Orbitz had did its this grand merger with Google Wallet, and it was a lot of advertisement going back and forth about that. And so I thought I'd play with Orbitz a little bit. And so what I would do is the same thing. I would look at what Orbitz was saying, because I've never used them aside from that one instance, as opposed to what the website was saying. I was like, oh, it's cheaper over here, so let me book it. And so each time that I would do that, if I didn't book it through Orbitz, when I got to the hotel, they'd say, oh, well, then there's this kind of fee and that kind of fee, and then it ends up being the same price as what it was on Orbitz. So it'd be like $10 or $15 cheaper. But then at the end, it wasn't what was advertised on their site. It was what Orbitz was saying the price was. So that's why I was kind of wondering if you had actually stayed there, and did they trick you like they got us a few times with that. So,
Alan,
yeah.
Alan, you don't travel as much as Kadeus does, or I did as a child, but I know you've traveled a lot. Have you found if you are trying to travel, what's the best way to do it? I mean, if you don't want to spend 6 hours researching every stop.
I don't know. If you don't want to spend 6 hours researching every stop, you pick a hotel chain and you don't worry about the price. That's what it fundamentally boils down to. Google helps you, but it's giving you these new tools to help you search and analyze things yourself.
So
once again, never mind.
Is there any particular service, like Google has this, and there's many others that we see advertised on television, and Captain Kirk and pushing them and stuff. Is there anyone you particularly think is one that folks should consider, or it's a roll
No,
of the
they all
dice?
suck pretty much the same.
Okay. Democracy in action. Okay. All right. So our discussion around here, emails show that Google helped Samsung pay for the Apple trial. I don't think this is a big surprise. And I'm curious why Apple doesn't straight up. This whole beef is that Apple contends that Google stole key features of the iPhone and dramatically altered Android as a result and violated their patents. So I don't know why they just don't straight up sue Google and instead sue the folks who are dealing with Google. So that's kind of a mystery to me.
Because a hardware patent is easier to sue over than a software patent.
So that's a simple answer. Probably easier to explain as well.
Right, because you hold up a phone and you say, look, it's on this phone.
Does it surprise you that they would have paid for? This is obvious, right? I mean, they're obviously supportive of the leading Android manufacturer, so I don't think this is surprising in any way. Are these going to continue, Alan, do you think, these suits?
They're in the middle of a big one right now.
It's just been years. I mean, I guess it's, as long as they feel that these suits could bear fruit, and certainly the Samsung one, I think it was $1 billion judgment or something initially, and then we'll see where it goes. Okay. And then next up is Samsung is failing to draw users into its contents and apps, says a study. I just today was looking at various apps and trying to find out, because my phone has been diminishing its battery quicker than usual. So I was trying to figure out why, and I found this one app. It was it was called the Protection app. It turns out it was a Sprint app, or with their insurance policy thing. But then I went to Samsung, and I never go to the Samsung store. The Amazon app store will occasionally draw me in if I'm curious just to see what the free app of the day is, but often that's junk, and often a low-rated app that's crap. But sometimes it's a really, really good one, like a $12 app that's free. So that's a draw. But I never have ever downloaded a Samsung app from their built-in app thing, store, whatever you want to call it. Any thoughts on this? And also, Alan, they've agreed to stop doing this, right? Sort of. Is this part of what they're going to not do anymore? Because I know Samsung said they're going to get more into the native Android thing as opposed to
What
building
what
their
they
own
said
thing.
is they're going to be doing more stuff that's closer to vanilla Android. But, I think they're still going to be pushing their own features and still pushing their own apps to go with those features. They're still going to be doing stuff. I just think you're going to see them doing less stuff in places where it's not worth it to them to stand out. It's not worth it to them to make major changes to the notification center because nobody cares. Whereas they think people will care about, stylus support. Or, if there's some other fabulous feature for the phablet.
Cadeas, any thoughts on this?
I'm pure Android all the way. I hate all that junk they put on top, and I'm glad nobody's using it. So if they're paying attention to the numbers, then maybe they'll quit the junk. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm stuck with Sprint where I am, and I wish that they would come out with a pure Android phone that I could get. That was good hardware, and I could pay my $200-300 to get the phone, and I'll do my freaking contract or whatever. But they don't support any of those. So that sucks. So I'm stuck with the Sprint Zone and all this crap on my phone that I don't want, and apps you can't remove. It's very frustrating. But the good side is I have a river 100 yards behind me, so that's kind of cool. Okay, anybody got an app? All right. So what's going to be the big story Friday, you think, Alan, on Google Plus Week? Any thoughts?
I think people are going to be saying the same BS that they've been saying for a week now.
I swear to God, you are completely John C. Dvorak tonight. Just
I'm
hammering
tired of the story.
incessantly.
You want to know why I'm tired of the story?
Sure.
Because quite honestly, just about everybody is totally missing the boat. Totally missing the boat. Okay, they're not really talking about what Google Plus's problems were. They're not really talking about what Google is doing to fix it. They're not really talking about what changes need to be made. They're not talking about diddly squat. They're pulling BS out of thin air and justifying it with things that make absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know, would it make sense for the Hangout and Photos team to move to Android in a vague sort of way, in the same way that it would make sense for the YouTube and Maps team to move to Android? Which is to say, no, it doesn't. It's BS.
And some of these
And
things
nobody
may.
with half a brain is thinking about what they should be doing. At least nobody with half a brain outside Google is.
And again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the point. There's no news to report. That's what it is.
It matters for those of us who have invested years in this thing, and all of a sudden we're confronted with stories. There's a fear element here for the users.
You're confronted with somebody changing jobs. That has nothing to
we're confronted with stories that are suggesting that in my opinion, incorrectly and unjustifiably. We're confronted with stories that are suggesting that Google is going to pull a Google Reader with Google Plus and dump it. And that's what some of these stories are flat out saying, or strongly suggesting, or suggesting some variation of that. And those of us, just like people were outraged and when Google Reader went down, or Buzz, if they pulled the same thing, and this gets to a big criticism of Alan and Craig, where they have a history of this. They get everyone psyched up and they encourage you to use it, invest your time in this service, and all of a sudden they dump it, when it doesn't work, when it was really never out of freaking beta. And so that's the fear. If I've spent 3 years investing my life and building relationships up in Google Plus, and then the thing disappeared, I mean, I'd be pretty pissed off.
Yeah, but that's just as crazy as a freaking tsunami coming and washing you away, or a tornado, or earthquake. These are all what ifs. These are all possibilities, and you just need to not worry about it. And the people who are kicking up all this mess, though, they should be losing their credibility in your eyes at this point. You shouldn't be going to them as a news source or an information source. Any site, I don't care who it is. I'm not going to call them out, but I don't care who it is. If they're drumming up all this kind of stuff with unfounded things, then you need to stop looking at them. It's the reason why I don't have TV. It's the same thing. I don't want to turn and see TV and see articles and headlines with question marks, because they're just trying to. It's silly. It's silly. And so whoever is kicking up all this stuff, they should be losing their credibility in the eyes of the people as a source to go to for information, because none of this is true. None of this is, nobody said anything. All that's happened is that somebody changed companies. That happens every freaking 10 minutes on the planet. So it shouldn't be a big deal.
There may be some nuggets of truth in some of these stories, as we discussed at length. If you're really interested in this, look for the Google Plus Week from, you can easily search it from Friday for April 25th, 2014, and we go point by point on the main article, which was TechCrunch. I don't know. I'm curious because of there's largely a silence other than from that initial PR statement. I think that the departure of the head of a major division of Google, a senior vice president, the sudden departure without explanation will cause, everyone. I don't know.
I have good
Maybe it's
credibility
fear of
right
the
now,
unknown.
Dan. Right now with you, I have good credibility. Nothing's gonna happen. It's okay.
No, I just think
It's okay. Regardless of what they're saying, it's okay, Dan. It is okay.
I understand. I don't need a hug.
All right.
I'm just saying. I just wish that they would do a more forceful support, and the fact that they haven't done that, this is going to feed stories into this. And I'm talking to people, and they're all like up in arms and worried and stuff. And I just wish that they would. I wish that Larry Page would get Bez and go into a Starbucks. Anything we've missed or final thoughts before we roll?
When's the next show?
Next show is that's part of rolling. So this is like the pre-roll, like B-roll, but pre. Okay, so we have two shows. We have Google Plus Week, which is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, where we discuss tech news, specifically relating to Google Plus or Google. And then on Monday nights, we do this program, which is called Our Android Week, where we talk about all things Android. And that's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So we thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And please watch and tell your friends who are interested in Android. And until next time, have a wonderful Android Week.